Why would Israel want to bar two members of the United States Congress from entering the country? Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Caleb, sitting in for Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. Last Thursday, Israel announced it was barring two Democratic U.S. Congresswomen from entering the country. A highly unusual move coming shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump tweeted that Israel would be showing, quote, great weakness by admitting them. Both Congresswomen, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, are Muslim, and both support BDS, the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement that seeks, among other things, to pressure Israel into ending what it calls an occupation of the West Bank. But then on Friday, following an appeal from Congresswoman Tlaib, Israel granted her permission to visit her 90-year-old grandmother in the West Bank. After first agreeing not to promote boycotts against Israel during the trip, Tlaib changed her mind, saying she could not go under what she called these oppressive conditions. To help us untangle all of this, we turn to CGTN's Stephanie Freid in Tel Aviv. So, Stephanie, let's take a step back. Break it down for us. How did we get here? Was it pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump, as some suggest, or an independent decision by the Israeli government?
Well, Sean, in terms of pressure versus independent decision, there are voices on both sides. Some say that U.S. President Donald Trump goaded Prime Minister Netanyahu with that tweet and other pressure measures into barring the two Congresswomen from entering Israel. Others are looking strictly at the law. And you mentioned BDS, Boycott, Divest, Sanction, that both of these Congresswomen have been very vocally supportive of for years. In 2017, Israel enacted a law saying that anybody who supports BDS is barred from entering the country. So strictly in terms of the law, Israel was within its legal means to bar the Congresswomen, but as we know, there's more to it because these are Congresswomen. These are U.S. Congresswomen. U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Friedman, he calls BDS a warfare, economic warfare. That's the very strong feeling about BDS here. Also, there are those who would look at their itinerary. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, their itinerary included some very non-conventional, and insofar as Congresspeople who visit here, itinerary points, such as having a teleconference with Gaza young people, visiting occupied Hebron, and as well talking to UN representatives about U.S. aid cuts to Palestinians and what effect that's having. That would have not necessarily have put a favorable light that perhaps Israel was seeking on Israel, reverting back to the law. Straight up, this is the law, and Israel was pulling out the law in this case.
There's so much at play. The Israeli elections are about a month away. Is this controversy likely to help or hurt Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Certainly not hurt him. There are those here who say that it's meant to bolster U.S. President Donald Trump's 2020 chances, but that's another issue in terms of domestic U.S. As far as Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu goes, this move, barring these Congresswomen, that would put more support in his corner from his supporters, showing him in the light of protecting Israel against critics and protecting Israel against those who might harm Israel. There's also, there are certain things to consider here in terms of Prime Minister Netanyahu. Even if there has been criticism, even if this will harm or is harming the relationship between U.S. in the long term and Israel, his staunch supporters in Israel are just that. They're staunch supporters. He's the longest-serving prime minister in the country's history, and Israelis who sit in his corner and who vote for him consecutively say they can't imagine anyone else in power. Sean?
Thanks, Stephanie. That's CGTN's Stephanie Freid reporting from Tel Aviv.